Good evening, all of you. Today we are going to present a topic of climate change scenarios. I am Lavanya presenting the first part of the presentation. We are going to discuss it under four major topics, namely Introduction to Climate Change, Consequences of Climate Change Scenarios, IPCC and Assessment Report, Timelines, and finally the opportunities for the future assessment. Before moving into the topic, let's first see what is climate change. In today's world, very hot topic is climate change and environmental pollution. So it affects all sectors, with the water sector being no exception. So what is climate change? As we all know, climate is the long-term weather pattern in a region typically averaged over 30 years. So it shifts in temperature and weather patterns that is known as climate change. It can be due to natural and anthropogenic activities. However, since 18th, human activities are known main driver of climate change. Burning fossil fuels like coal, oil, and gas. Therefore, scientists proved humans are responsible for virtually all global heating over last 200 years. Let's see some evidences. Average temperature of Earth's surface is now 1.2 degrees warmer than it was in late 18th. The last decade was warmer on record, and another shocking is each of the last 4 decades have been warming than the previous decade. And what are the consequences of the climate change? As it is a prominent topic, you can see in the picture in the dark blue circle shows the driver of climate change. It is greenhouse gas emission, and light blue circle shows the climate changes of climate systems like changes in hydrological cycle, warmer land and air, warming oceans, melting polar ice, rising sea level, ocean acidification, changes in ocean currents, more extreme weather, etc. Because of these changes, there are impacts like loss of biodiversity, conflict, and climate migrants like Maldives is now vulnerable, and they may be identified as climate migrant in future because the sea level is rising. Heat stress, flooding, damages to the infrastructure, and so on. Moving to the topic, climate change scenarios. So scenarios are not predictions, but rather the plausible description on how future might unfold based on different assumptions. Therefore, climate change scenario is a plausible and often simplified representation of the future climate based on an internally consistent set of climatological relationships based on anthropogenic climate change. IPCC, known as the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, uses climate change scenarios to explore the potential pathways of greenhouse gas emissions and their impact. As I earlier mentioned, IPCC is the United Nations body for assessing the science related to the climate change, established in 1988 by the World Meteorological Organization and United Nations Environmental Programme. It uses various scenarios across its assessment reports to project future climate change. In the table, you can see the summary of the assessment data from 1990 to up to date. There are 6 assessment reports known AR1 to AR6, and the title of the reports are also mentioned in the table. The latest report is based on 2023 report. Let's see assessments one by one. In the first assessment report known as AR1, key focus is conform. Human activities for increasing greenhouse gas emissions. It focuses various scenarios to project future climate change, like range of scenarios A, B, C, and D, including lower emission to explore the potential effect of different mitigation efforts. There is predicted global temperature increase of 0.3 degrees Celsius per decade. As a result, UNFCCC, known as United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, was implemented in 1992, and it concluded that global warming is likely to occur due to increased greenhouse gas emissions. The second assessment report, also known as SAR, titled as The Science of Climate Change. The scenario are updated here and concluded that greenhouse gas concentrations are increasing. The report also included scenarios, particularly the IS 92 scenarios used to project potential future climate conditions. These scenarios served as input for climate models to project future climate conditions. Because of this assessment, it prompted to form very famous Kyoto Protocol, and it is an international agreement adopted in Kyoto, Japan in 1997, requiring industrialized countries to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. The third assessment report, also known as TAR, titled Climate Change 2001, introduced use of climate models to project the future scenarios and hockey stick graph. You can see it in the picture. The graph showing a sharp temperature rise. The shape of the graph, with its long flat blade and sharp upward handle, it is reminiscent of an ice hockey stick, hence the name. So the rest of the part will be introduced by my partner. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Lavanya. Now presented by Sivalingam Arura. Now I started for resume the presentation from the fourth assessment report, AR4 2007, Climate Change 2007, key finding, warming of climate system is unequivocal, introduced representative concentration pathway, RCPs, for future scenarios. The RPC, which means representative concentration pathways, scenarios that includes time series of emission and concentration of full suite of greenhouse gases and aerosols and chemically active gases, as well as land cover. The term representative relates with the relative forcing characteristics. The term pathway emphasizes that not only the long-term concentration level are of interest and also paths taken over time to reach our outcome. AR5, the four RPCs were defined based on greenhouse gas emissions. Anthropogenic green GHG emissions are driven by population size, economic activities, lifestyles, energy uses, land use patterns, technologies, and climate changes. AR5 RCP is at 4 types. RCP 2.6 radiative forces peaks at approximately 3 watts meter per second meter squared before 2100 and then decline. The warming below 2 degrees centigrade and pursue effort to limit to 1.5 degree. RCP 4.5 middle of the road scenarios 2.5 to 3.2 degree Celsius, balancing economic growth with climate mitigation. RCP 6.46 considered intermediate scenarios 2.8 to 3.8 degrees Celsius, less severe than RCP 8.5, and RCP 8.5 rose 4 to 5 degree centigrade. That is the worst scenario. And 8.5, again, as I mentioned earlier, RCP 8.5 is a representative concentration pathway scenario that represents a high emission. Businesses as usual trajectory is characterized by continued reliance on fossil fuels, increasing greenhouse gas emissions, limited international cooperation on climate change mitigation. Under RCP 8.5, global temperature are projected to rise around 4.5 centigrade, above pre-industrial levels by 2100, with severe climate-related effects. And sixth assessment report, which is in the pipeline 2001 to 2021 to 2023. The title, the structure, WG1 working group. That is working group 1, physical science basis, examining past and future changes in the climate system, such as temperature, precipitation, and sea level rise. Working group 2, impact, adaptation, and vulnerability, assess impacts on natural and human systems, including water resources, ecosystems, and human health. Express adaptation and mitigation strategies to reduce climate-related risk. And working group 3, mitigation of climate changes, analysis trends in greenhouse gas emission and mitigation policies, discuss long-term mitigation pathway for various sectors, including energy, transport, and industry. And highlights, introduce socio-economic pathway with CMIP6 models, strong warnings on 1.5 Celsius threshold and urgency of action. And then the next one is improve opportunity for future assessment, AR7, improve integration of impacts into scenario frameworks, including more near-term projections up to 2040 to support urgent policy decisions. Established a community-led live scenario database for real-time access and updates. Develop policy-relevant assessments combining mitigation and adaptation strategies. This process is in the pipeline now. Thank you.